All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson with Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 21st day of August, 2018. You know, numerologically, we can look at this in two ways. We can look at 2018 as an 11, because that's what it reduces to, which is a master number for illumination. And then 821 also reduces to 11, so we can look at today as an 11-11 day, which might be fun. If you added them together, though, you get 22, which is another master number for the cosmic builder. So I guess we build in illumination and complete awareness of who we are as source energy, focused into form to know more. So this is a really spiritual day, isn't it? We'll see if the cards actually reinforce that. I kind of think maybe they will. We've had a lot of synchronicities with the numerological values of the cards and the runes that we've been pulling lately, so it's always exciting when we start out that way. You just never know. But we're inside today at the desk at the work area. Actually, I have two desks, but and then my altar's over here, and I have a lot of different altars. I have one outside by the she cave. I have one in my bedroom. And I have one here. And then I have a lovely island in the kitchen that is, it's got a marble top on it. And it's a really great place to do work and do herb stuff and magic and all of that when I need to have a better place to do it. You know, I can open all the windows and let the smoke go out and all of that if I'm smudging or whatever. So I have a lot of good places to do this stuff in. And then there's just so many lovely places around here in the compound where I can go out and do this outside when there's not smoke. You know, yesterday I noticed that I was squinting the whole time. That's because literally smoke hanging in the air. We're on this advisory. Every time I get up in the morning, it's on my phone. It's a fire weather something or other, hazard or something. But they're warning us to stay inside. But, you know, we've got all this work to do. We have irrigation. We have, you know, the gardens to tend to, and we have bees and we have chickens. And so we can't be inside all day long. But we've been taking a lot of breaks the last week or so because the smoke has just been everywhere and you can't breathe. We went shopping yesterday in town and we're watching people walk around in it. You know, the stores, they leave their, I mean, the doors open and close, and some of them just sort of stay open. And so the stores are all filled with it, even the big box stores. I don't care where you go in them, if it's Walmart or Home Depot or any of those bigger buildings, you know, that they have now. Well, the buildings are just filled with smoke. You can't go anywhere and not smell it. So this is awful for anyone dealing with it. But at least fire has not swept through our area and ravaged our homes. So we have that, don't we? Got to be thankful for the blessings. All right, I've counted 13. We'll see what we have. Okay, well, we have a 9 of wands. And 9, let's see where I want to put my cards. 9 is about, so they don't burn up with all these candles I have everywhere. 9 is about completion, and we have a guy who, as you can see, let me see if I can get so it's not glary. Not over there. There. So he's standing there. He's been in battle. You can see he's got a bandage around his head, so clearly he's either had a concussion or a head wound of some kind. He's not very, if you can see the look on his face there, he's not very trusting. He's holding on to his staff, and all of the staffs are behind him. And, you know, you can, and since it's a 9, you know, he's either standing in his own power, he's had enough. These wands can also represent people standing with you Uh, this can it almost like, okay, I've done it all. This is the effect of my will, that I was able to do this and stand strong, and now I'm at the end of it. So we've hung in there maybe, and we've stood in our own power, and we've not allowed, anything to overtake us. And it cost us, clearly, a little bit, maybe, you know, because maybe we're not so trusting, maybe we're tired, but we've stood there, haven't we? Let's see what the Tarot Grimoire says, see if I've forgotten anything. A lot of the times when I look at these cards, I keep little grimoires. Um, and one of the things I have written here is strength through adversity. And that's another one, clearly, you can see, because he's been through battle, so we can regard that as adversity. We can regard this as determination, or an expression of determination and strength. But the thing about this here, and again, we can look at tarot both external and internal, but here, this could be also reflect the battle within. And he's finally gotten things the way he wants them. And he's gotten his will sorted out, perhaps. So it can go either way, can't it? But let's draw a rune and see what it has to say to inform. And then if we need to draw another card, we can do that too. I crochet my own rune and tarot bags, and I crocheted a tarot bag out of some stiffer yarn than I usually like to use. I bought some other, and I think it's probably going to be the same, but oh well. This one here is out of sock yarn, and it's nice because it's pliable, and it just, I don't know, I like it. I think I did a good job on it. Oh, see, now there I did an X. I was trying to do an X on this other one, and I wasn't able to do it. But but with sock yarn, it's thin, it's little, and so there's no bulk to it. And so it's a lot more, I don't know. I mean, on the one hand, it's small, it's hard to work with, but on the other hand, it makes it so much easier to work with. So I don't know. But let's let the runes fall through my fingers and see what comes up. Uruz. Uruz is an interesting one. One of the, I do a lot of research on rune interpretation, and I like to see what the other folks have to say that do runes and write books about it. And so, you've got different ones. You've got Thorson, you've got Diana Paxson, I believe her name is. I really like, is it Paxson? Anyway, I wish I had it right here at my, not sure what I did with it, but it's about understanding the runes. It's a really, really excellent book. Tyriel, one by Tyriel. But these folks, they do a lot of research into the whole the Eddas and all of that, and the Havamal, and they bring all of this information together, so you get a sense of the history of runes, which is really extraordinary. I really highly recommend, if you're interested in runes, is to look into these authors, because they just have a sense of this that is so remarkable, because they've been doing it forever, and they've been thinking about gathering the different interpretations together. Just to give you an idea of how people viewed this in the past and how we might view it today. But one of the things about Uruz that I found so interesting was the concept of drizzle. That's what Uruz is. It's a water element rune. It's the second rune of the Elder Futhark, but it's not just the manifestation into form, because when you see it going, when you see the legs going downward, it's a focus into form. It's what are we manifesting? But what this rune master said was that it's not necessarily the manifestation itself, but it's the forming force behind that manifestation. And so when we look at Uruz, we're looking at our will, okay? And what is our will going to then bring about today? What is the will? What is our thought patterns? What is all of that going to invoke What is that force? Sometimes you can look at someone's behavior, you can look at their actions, but if that's all you see, you never look at what is the motivating factor behind it. And so, in a way, drizzle could be thought of as the motivating factor behind, in this case, our will. What is our motivation? What is our orientation? Is it service to self? Is it service to others? What is that ground level foundational motivation within us that causes us then to go out and have the experiences that we have? Are we thinking about other people, or are we just thinking about what's in it for us? And so, hard to say here. This sort of indicates others with all of the other wands or staffs behind him, but not necessarily. I mean, this could simply be about, his will and gathering it together, and, this is what it was. And he's standing there and reflecting on it, standing in his own power. But what was the power? What was the ground level of this? What was this all about? So let's look at that for a second. Let's pull another card, and I'll shuffle and see if we can get just a little more information on what this guy's issue was. Because when I see wands, I think will. When I see 9 of them, I think, well, that's a lot of will. So either we're getting it into control, which usually 9 means something like that you've just, it's like the 9 of swords, or the 10 of swords. You're talking, the dark night of the soul moment. It's like, well, come on, don't get in a pity party about it. It's just that you've experienced so much, you've gone round and round, and now you're done, and now you're ready to just let it all go and move on to something new. So let's see. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I draw 13 because I was born on the 13th, and 13 has always figured prominently in my life. I was ill for 13 years and then got better. So I don't know, lots of 13s in my life. Well, here we have the 5 of swords. And again, you have a situation where there's been a battle and people are bereft. You've got how many over here that aren't even looking? You've got 1, 2, you've got 2 over here that aren't even looking at what's going on. The swords are on the ground. This guy's picking them up. You can see blood on this one guy right here, or what looks like blood. I don't really see any on the ground though, but they're out in the front of a body of water. The clouds are sketchy. 5 indicates change. So perhaps this talks about some change that went on, and they're just gathering up the spoils or what's left. But this guy here, he may have been the winner in all of it. It might have been his will that overcame these guys. Will maybe overcame intellect. Maybe we decided that what we wanted was more important than reason, what was reasonable. And now he's just, standing there. So, maybe that's the enlightenment. Maybe this battle that we engage in, what is it really worth in the end of in the final analysis? Because here you've got 2 guys here next to the water that are bereft and are exhausted from it all. You've got this guy who's left to pick up the spoils or the swords, which he's either, the look on his face seems to be a little wily, so maybe there was some sabotage that went on that resulted in this. But at the end of the day, perhaps the enlightenment that we need to, the 11:11 moment that we need to experience, perhaps that is just something that has to do with making the realization that in a battle of wills, no one wins. That it's better to cooperate and to move forward that way than to ultimately stand alone in our will, because that's where we'll be. If we're a willful, haven't you noticed someone who always has to have their way all the time? It can't be any other way but theirs. Well, that doesn't work for everybody, does it? And that's just an expression of will run amok, where where these folks are just so wrapped up in what they want to do, they can't extend to others anything, any kind of compassion or cooperation or anything else. They can't see beyond themselves. So it seems to me that the forming force then has to do with what is your motivation? What was that initial choice? In terms of soul level, what was that initial choice that you made before coming into form? Is it about service to self? Is it about service to others? And when your focus is on, the awareness of the greater, unified presence of all, well, guess what? You're included in that. So you're not left behind when you think about other people. And when you stop engaging in a battle of wills, you can isolate yourself. This guy seems isolated now. You can be isolated. Now, maybe 9 is a number of completion, but maybe after all is said and done, this is where you are. You're isolated. You're alone in your own will because people aren't going to engage with that at some point. We see that playing out again on the world stage with the current president. I don't know. Maybe when all is said and done, we will live in a better world after all of this ends. We don't know. Right now, it seems very chaotic. Right now, it seems very disturbing. But perhaps he's just a player in this. Perhaps he's really not the guy, Perhaps the real guy is all of us. It isn't about one man, a very flawed and what I think it is just, I realize it's just a bachelor's degree in psychology, but trust me, you get a nice foundation for the rest of it if you go on. And I'm telling you, I look at this man and alarm bells are just going off all over the place. And it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I'm liberal, because I am. It doesn't have anything to do with that. I look at this from a psychological standpoint, from a behavior standpoint, and it's troubling. And to me, it means a battle of wills. And it's the battle of will that goes on inside him, because one minute he says this, and then the next minute he says the opposite. It's like there's no grounding. There's no foundation. So you have to, and those people tend to be service to self, because they cannot understand that they're part of this greater unified presence of all. So whether it's a battle within, or it's the one that we're watching unfold before us, at least if it's the one within, we have some measure of control over that, don't we? If we are honest with ourselves and we explore, whatever this is that might be going on with us. But today is a chance, an 11/11 day, numerologically, to gain enlightenment from whatever it is that we're experiencing or whatever it is that we're watching. So, and then from there, if we combine those together, we have a 22, which is the cosmic builder. It's the master builder. What will we then build from that awareness and that illumination? So is it going to be more of the same, or are we going to move into that greater unified presence of self, of true self, and understand that if we go it alone, we may be isolated, and we won't have that resource to tap into. And so, because that's what service to self is, it's a resource. It's going home at every given moment and being part of that greater unified presence and moving from that standpoint at every moment in our lives. So anyway, I have to go now because I have to go and process beans. I don't know. I didn't go out to the hoop house yesterday. I picked them and I was going to do them last night, but I'm glad I didn't, because I've got this massive amount from the beans over at the hoop house. So I have to go and process them now. Otherwise, they're just going to spoil. So anyhow, thank you so much for stopping by. And this has been fun. I have a blog called Stepping Aside that I'd love you to go over and check out. It's a lot of fun. It has a grimoire on it. It has some stuff on Reiki, has some stuff on being an empath, has some stuff on cannabis and herbs and all of that. So I'd love you to go check it out. In any event, we'll see you tomorrow. And thanks again so much for stopping by. I'm Jan Erickson. This has been Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune, and blessed be.